Got it.
There we go. And I also need for you to change it. Here we go. It's time to dance. We were just so entertained before. We have a full house today. Florida today. We have Bellis, and we are going to be cooking with gas in just a minute, and we are going to start our dance. Good. Head bop works. Oh, the Muppet. That's right. Tim Walters is here today. We do the Muppet thing together.
I love that.
You should have seen us when we were in the studio together. So here we go. We're going to get started. And remember, you can't be seen when you're not speaking, so you can take a drink or do whatever you want.
Visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. You know, I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that just had a hard time embracing a new truth that our body does heal, and it can heal naturally. And there's so many different things that we can do to do that. So today we have, again, I'm so excited for my sponsor, Liberty HealthShare. I've been a member of Liberty HealthShare for over a year, almost 2 years now, and I'm really excited that they are a sponsor of the show, and they embrace the same philosophy of reward yourself for good health. And if you are there and you want to learn more about that, stay tuned, because after the break, Bellis is going to be joining us. But for now, as you know, it's that time again where we get to dissect my latest Florida Today article with my Swiss Army knife of an editor. His name is Tim Walters, who's also the writer of Daddy Duty. So some of you who follow him as a new father, he writes about his beautiful little girl and all the things that she does. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Tim Walters is in the house to discuss why are you chemotherapy, or are you chemotherapy deficient? That's my latest article. So welcome to the Lillian McDermott radio show, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Lillian. Happy to be here as always. Really great intro. Makes me happy. I feel like a rainbow wrapped in bacon right now.
Well, we don't talk about bacon on the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Oh, sorry.
But that's okay. I used to love bacon, but now we know it's a known carcinogen, as you know. Did I silence you on that one? Hey, listen, the World Federation of Health, but help me out here, Dale. It's World Health Federation has named bacon and stuff that you put on your like sandwiches. Like deli meats and as a carcinogen. They have called it a carcinogen. So with that in mind, we're talking about Cancer Week. It's Cancer Month.
Yeah, Florida Today, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but at Florida Today, we choose to do it as an all cancer awareness month. So over the course of the month, we highlight different types of cancers. We look at some survivors. And we try and tell people stories and help them learn about it. So we actually, instead of just doing our regular Thursday health sections, we have 2 other ones that we do on Tuesday. So we have 6 cancer-related sections this month that highlight so many different things and so many wonderful stories.
Well, I always get a kick out of your expression after when you say you open my bag, my email. It's like, you never know what kind of article you're going to get from me. And this time you pulled out, are you chemotherapy deficient? What were you thinking when you saw that one?
Well, the good news is I was expecting something cancer related, as I asked all of our columnists to do something. Yes. But when you really kind of caught my attention just right off the bat, because you used an interesting metaphor for essentially trees to cancer, and I think you should probably explain to the audience a little bit, because I really thought that was a neat way to dive in.
Well, we're very similar to trees. And when you have a potted plant that's dying in your house, what do you do instinctively? You take it and you put it outside, you put it in the sun, you add some water, you check and see that if it needs new soil. There's a lot of things that we do for this plant. And in the wintertime, all these plants die, all the trees die, but then miraculously they recover. They come out of hibernation. And with our favorite potted plant at home, that is something that we see as well, that if we nurture, and if people are anything like me, I also whisper to my plants. I tell them how beautiful they are and how wonderful. So if anybody's like me, you also have that component, that mind, body, spirit of healing. And if we do this for a plant, why wouldn't we do this for ourselves?
Yeah, and it was a great way to dive into what you talk about, because cancer is such a it's such a misunderstood thing, I guess. And some of the statistics that you go into after that were just mind-boggling, things that I've never heard, but you cite a very reputable source. And I just thought those percentages were just surprising.
Yes, and the percentage that Tim is talking about can be found. I actually link it. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to do your own research. I want you to be empowered to say, is this true? So go to PubMed. I have the link of the article, the research in my article, so that you too can verify that the survival rate of chemotherapy over a 5-year period is 2.1% in the United States, 2.3% in Australia. But this is the conversation we're going to have. But before we continue talking about the article, we're going to introduce my favorite, Dale Bellis, the Executive Director of Liberty HealthShare, when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. There you go. Okay, we're going to continue. The camera's rolling. And Dale, I'm excited after that intro, you'll have a lot to add with that.
There's a lot to talk about there.
Yes. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Well, the tree analogy was given to me by the first person that really hit me with a 2x4. It was like, that's a great analogy, and it stayed with me. And I've known his name is Dr. Charles Majors. He had a inoperable brain tumor, Dale. And I wrote about this last year in my cancer article that Tim had asked me to write. He was such a great teacher. He was given 8 weeks to live. He had an inoperable brain tumor at the age of 40 something. And instead of going the traditional chemotherapy, which would have made him completely sick and maybe prolonged his life a week, he decided to go a holistic approach. And after 4 years of being alive, I had him on the show because I learned about him. And the day before, because it took me 9 months to get him, he kept postponing and postponing. And the day before, I coincidentally had a whole week's worth of cancer shows, holistic cancer shows that I did not schedule. Somebody else scheduled for me. And the guy that was in front 2 days before this Charles Majors was a guy that his name is James Forsyth. And James Forsyth coincidentally came on my show because of requests I made from a guest that I had. And I found out on that show that his success rate doing everything holistically without toxicity is 60, at the time was 62% for stage 4 cancers. Blew me away.
Wow.
2 days later, Charles Majors comes on my show. And when I found out, when I was doing research on him, guess who his doctor was? Dr. James Forsyth. So they got my attention right there. And ever since then, I have not looked back. And here we go. So we're going to talk about what happens, Dale, if as a healthy person, we get a diagnosis.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today's teachers, or my co-hosts, or my sponsors, Tim Walters of Florida Today. We're going to talk about my article, Are You Chemotherapy Deficient? So I hope I got your attention with that. And then secondly, as you know, I love Liberty HealthShare. It is what I use to promote my health. And so I am so excited that Liberty HealthShare has partnered with the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And guess who we have? Dale Bellis. He's the executive director of Liberty HealthShare. And I'm so grateful to you, Dale, for taking the time, looking always so handsome, for those of you who are watching us later on our video. So to share a little bit about your background, Dale, and welcome to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. And
thank you.
How
Lily.
you got involved with Liberty HealthShare.
Yeah, I have been a healthcare benefits administrator for almost 30 years and have observed the national process for meeting healthcare costs for that time. And with the passage of the Affordable Care Act in 2010, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was just one of those epiphanies. So I said, there's got to be a way for men and women of faith, values, and just the ordinary American to meet healthcare costs without being subjected to these onerous, intrusive kinds of government mandates that were included in the ACA. I started to do research then. There is an entire movement of people who are taking care of themselves based upon their ethical and religious values. We call it healthcare sharing. And so I launched Liberty HealthShare as a relaunch and a redirection of an existing healthcare sharing group that's been in place since '95. We really are premised on two primary values as a healthcare sharing ministry, which simply means we help each other. And that is we're paying each other's medical costs across America. And we have, in every state, we have members everywhere that really are like a social community connected with one another and investing our dollars to help a fellow member every month. And it's premised on two core values. One being that we're creatures of God. Our bodies are temples. And so we have an obligation to care for our health. And number two, that we're really placed here on earth to assist another person whenever they have a need. If you're the kind of person that drops money in the Salvation Army bucket at Christmas, that kind of impulse is what we've turned to a solution for healthcare. And so those are the two premises, both ethical and religious values, that we base our healthcare sharing on, and it has succeeded wildly. It's like a grassroots prairie fire of people joining in with us to take responsibility for the care of our health and assist others in community with one another.
And we are so aligned, Dale. When I found Liberty HealthShare, I was so excited because prior to you, for our family, my husband and I, we were paying $1,200 a month for our insurance, and it had a $5,000 deductible. And if my husband and I today wanted to go through Liberty HealthShare, we would be paying for the two of us, I believe it is like $300 or $299.
Yeah, it's we ask our members every month to set aside what we call a suggested share amount.
Sure.
This share amount had changed, interestingly, over the last 3 years. It's been sufficient to meet every member's expense needs, but it's $199 for a single, it's $299 for a couple, $449 for a family of 3 or more, with mom, dad, and all kids. They set that money aside in an online secure account called a share box. And through our proprietary online technology, we match that share amount to another member who has medical bills. And so transparently, openly, you see your dollars move from your online account to theirs, and you can message them with cheer or encouragement or prayer. And like a true social community, we're standing with each other during those times of medical expenses. So it's not just about the transaction of paying somebody's bill, which, by the way, our members say is most rewarding because their dollars are going to another person, not to a company black hole. But number two, it's really reaching out to one another in social and meeting spiritual and social needs in addition to the financial burdens that we bear whenever we encounter a rather complex medical system today.
I love it. And this is something you and I have not discussed, but I received a phone call last week from a young lady named Casey.
Yes.
Asking me how I did from the storm.
Oh, yes.
And I thought, who's this again? She said, this is Casey from Liberty HealthShare. I'm just calling everybody to see from Florida and Texas and Puerto Rico how they're doing after the storm. And I went, that's really, I don't know if she knew that you guys sponsored my show or not. And I said, well, that's interesting. And I thought, she said, well, how did you do? We had this conversation and then she said, there's another reason I'm calling. I just want to make sure that you're taking advantage of all that Liberty HealthShare has to offer. Make sure that you are going to the doctor. And she started telling me the things that I needed to know. And I went, this is awesome. This is just awesome. Does anybody know that you're doing this? And I said, by the way, Liberty HealthShare sponsors my show, and I am a member of Liberty HealthShare. And I'm going to talk about you when we come back. So did you know that they were doing, of course you should know, you're the executive director.
Yes, indeed. We have launched that kind of initiative to our members in the hurricane-stricken areas to just make sure, they're safe, if we can assist them in any way, and whether they've got financial burdens that we need to reach out and assist with. And so, good. I'm glad they fulfilled the mandate that I gave them. Call every member.
That is awesome. I think it's great. And what I love about it is you talked about the Affordable Care Act. You figured out a way to create a win-win. So when we are healthy, we are taking responsibility. As you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against pills, because I take thyroid medication. It's a natural thyroid medication. And trust me, I will do everything I possibly can naturally or holistically. If I'm sick with something's making me sick, like dairy or wheat, I don't eat it. That's as simple as that. And it's amazing how the body, just like we talk about the tree, with the fertile soil, the water, the sun, whatever it needs to thrive, it will come back. So if somebody is saying, well, good for you that you're healthy, how can someone get involved with Liberty HealthShare? What do you look for with your members and your membership?
Sure. We really ask two primary questions. Number one, do you align with our shared beliefs? Which is what I've just articulated. There are 5 of them. They're on our website. It's just really focused upon our values that says we need to take care of our body, we honor God, and we honor one another. That's the primary code that you must align with, number one. Number two, that you're health conscious. We want to encourage healthy behaviors and living and be health aware, health conscious. And many of us are moving from where we currently are towards health and wellness. And that's a journey we all want to encourage and support and provide guidance to one another on, because health conscious people typically have fewer bills, less time in the hospital, recover more quickly. So it is a mentality that says our bodies need to be cared for and taken care of because of our obligation to one another and to our Creator.
And that,
consequently, those costs are less because we're health conscious.
But in a situation that you get a diagnosis with cancer or anything to that effect, you're not going to abandon. That's when you are there to help even more.
Even more. In fact, Lillian, I would say our guidelines that we use for sharing medical costs are determined and decided upon by our members. And a couple of years ago, our members decided that holistic and alternative medicines is a cost and an expense that we should share in. And so we encourage our members, whenever they're suffering a diagnosis, particularly like cancer, go to access those kinds of holistic treatments. I think of the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, who really do carry out that sort of combined holistic treatment of cancer. There are many other places who do the very same thing. So explore, search out those kinds of alternatives, because we certainly support our members in that way, and we share in those costs associated with holistic treatment.
Well, I want to introduce you to the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation, which is the foundation I started. I'd love to talk to you about that later on because, like I said in my article, no one is chemotherapy deficient. So what is deficient in the body? What is deficient? So if you see your potted plant that is dry and is looking dead, would you put poison in it? Or would you figure out, oh, look, the soil is dry. It needs some water. That's how we are too, right, Dale? I mean,
I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. And to introduce poison into the system is really shocking. That is the first impulse of our medical system in terms of treating cancer.
Allowable.
So we encourage that kind of holistic treatment.
Yeah, and I talk about that in the article that, trillions of dollars, billions of dollars being spent on research and donated, but yet we still have the same protocol many, many years later. So Dale, I encourage my listeners, because they're probably sitting on the edge of their seat going, how do I get a hold of it? So if you are interested, and by the way, every incident of health or non-health, if you find yourself that you're a bit sick, or what do you call it, when it's $1 million per incident,
per incident, yes.
Up to $1 million per incident. And if you're interested in learning more about this Affordable Care Act exempt way to take care of yourself, you can go to libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org. You can go to whenyounneedafriend.com, click on their logo, and it'll take you there. And also you can call 855-58-LIBERTY. That's 855-58-LIBERTY. That's 855-585-4237. And Dale, it's always a pleasure now I get to see you, to have you on the show. And I always look forward to you coming back because I learn more. What is the latest thing that's going on with Liberty Health Share that you would like for us to know before we go?
Well, you've touched on it, that we are really creating that kind of sharing, caring community where we're providing support and care for our members. And the outreach that you mentioned regarding the victims of our members subject to the hurricanes, both in Texas and in Florida and in Puerto Rico, is really our impulse to make sure that we're standing with one another, regardless of those needs. We want to be there for one another and support our healthcare costs and the improvement of our health.
Well, I tell you what, Dale, all I can say is well done, thy good and faithful servant. Thank you so much, Dale, for being on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. For those of you, go to libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org, or call 855-58-LIBERTY. Thank you again, Dale. And we're going to continue our conversation about the article. And Dale, if you have time, you can stick around and add your 2 cents if you want.
Well, thank you so much.
Our conversation worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right back waiting for you. Thank you, Dale.
Bye-bye.
So, Tim, isn't he wonderful?
Yeah. Actually, while he was talking, I brought up libertyhealthshare.org on my computer here.
Everybody, every time that he's on the show, whoever the guest is, whether it's Dr. Horowitz or Andrea Beeman, I see them immediately writing down, because to me, when I first interviewed them, I felt that it was too good to be true. And I did a lot of research, and then I decided to become a member. And once I became a member, I found myself, because the way it works is you're considered self-pay because they're going to be helping us out. And after, they match. So my membership is $199 a month to become a member. And then my non-shared costs, so that would be compared to a deductible. So for a family, I don't know what it is for a family or a couple, but for a single, it's $500. Once I reach $500, they pay 100%.
Wow.
Of my cost, of my medical cost. They share in that cost. And not only that, but it almost acts like insurance. You want to call it insurance, but they can't call it insurance. But I feel that I have security because I have them on my side. So whenever, what happens is, like I went to anyway, I had to go to the emergency room right after I got this. I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to drop me. They're going to drop. No, they encouraged me to go to the emergency room. And not only that, the bill was $5,000. But when I told them that I had Liberty HealthShare and that I was self-pay, it went down to like $1,400. And that's what they ended up paying.
Wow.
Once my $500 share was, paid for. But anyway, for those of you who are,
Where's Dale based?
I believe Ohio. Don't quote me on that. I think Ohio, but you caught me off guard. Okay, so that's libertyhealthshare.org for those of you who are interested. Now, we got to switch gears, because with that in mind and looking at our body as a temple, people get upset. People get upset when they find out that we create our disease. We create it by the way we treat our body. And it's a mind, body, spirit. And if we refuse to look at our spirit, if we're only treating the symptom, Tim, then we're neglecting the other side. And we've done enough shows on here that show me that people like obesity, morbidly obese people, there's an 85% chance a morbidly obese person has been inappropriately touched. Tell me that the body's not telling them protection, So there's so much that the mind and the body and the spirit, once they become aligned, it completely changes your outlook in life, the way you face your fears, So that, with cancer, they've got it down to, and we talked about this, Dr. Hammer. He was a German doctor who did MRIs on every patient that he had that had cancer, and they did not a psychological evaluation, but an evaluation of their past, and they were able to connect some of the diseases and the locations of their body to the kind of cancer they got.
Wow.
I can show you that article. It's in I've just researched Dr. Hammer, and I'll give you the spelling after we take our next break. But anyway, so as you're looking at the article last time, I think you had a different expectation this time. You kind of expected what I was going to write about, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I was expecting something cancer related, but I didn't know how you were going to be, the path you would take to get there and how you were going to be going about it. So I thought it was a really interesting way. You don't really generally hear a lot of people discuss the negative side of chemotherapy. You might hear about the side effects and things like that, but not the actual, low percentages for survival rates in 5 years and things like that. So I thought it was an interesting, way to take that on. Yeah,
well, here we go. Now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about my social media, but, we'll get started. I'm sure you have lots of questions for me. So here we go.
Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and my co-host today is Tim Walters. He's my editor at Florida Today. He does a lot more than that, and I'm so grateful to Tim every time he comes on. If you want to listen to some of our past shows of the articles we've done, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and check out Tim Walters. And also, Tim, I am now on your show, your television show. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're on the East Coast, just east of Orlando, you could see it on WEFS TV at 5:30 on Sundays. It's called the Florida Today Show, and we have about a 10-minute segment on it this Sunday, which is October, I think it's 15th? October 15th sounds about right. And then also you can go online to floridatoday.com and you can watch our segment there. And we attached the video to Lillian's article so you could hear us talk about it. Actually, I'd recommend reading it first, then hear us talk about it, because, you got to know a little bit of background before you can actually delve in and hear us break it down and discuss it. So, but we love having you in the studio, Lillian, and I'm glad that, sometimes I can host you. sometimes you can host me.
That's right. That's right. So let's break it down, homeboy, because I want to encourage you, my listening friends, to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. I don't want to spend a lot of time on my social media, but when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, you'll get lots of gifts, and hopefully you will feel empowered to also learn a new truth. So check out my website, check out my sponsors like Bellis, Liberty HealthShare, and because of them and their generosity, I can have the show go worldwide and in Florida as well. So check out my sponsors and figure out ways that you can support them, because they support this information that you can't find anywhere. And I also want to say, and if you have any questions, you can always call or text me at 407-373-5959. Oh, Tim, before I forget, we have a change in our schedule for tomorrow. Dr. Mona Lisa Scholes is going to be on the show, supposed to be tomorrow, but we're going to do a pre-record. The person that we had doing that show, the volunteer that we had, cannot do it. So we're looking for somebody on the Lillian McDermott radio show that has a condition that nobody can diagnose. You're trying to figure out what's going on. And today at noon, we're going to do a pre-record. If Dr. Mona Lisa Scholes has been on my show before, and just by your name, your age, and what area of concern in your body, she can tell you the root cause of your condition so that you can begin to heal. So if you want to be a part of this, you want to volunteer, you call right now, the first caller or texter, and I'll call you after the show, 407-373-5959. You have to be able to call today between the hours of 12 and 1, because that's when we're going to do the pre-record. And so that's 407-373-5959. 407-373-5959. Okay, that's today at noon, but you need to call right away. First caller or texter. Excuse me. So Tim, let's talk about the article, because it is a lot in there. What do you want to get started with? It's your now. Take it over.
That's all right. Well, just to recap for people who might not have seen the very first segment, we went through the introduction, which, was really an interesting metaphor about how the human body are like trees. So if you missed that, you have to either go back and listen or find the article and read it, of course. And then, we talked a little bit about, the PubMed article that said that there's only in the United States a 2.1% survival rate for people who have gone through chemotherapy in the United States. So, much lower than I think most people would expect that to be. So then, we transition from there to talk about, what can you do to maybe bring your survival rate up? What can you do that might not necessarily be, chemotherapy based? And, so you take us through some of that, and, just tell us a little bit about your information that you have, and, how it helps people.
Well, I had mentioned during the break, and for those of you who would like to watch the show, you can watch it on YouTube, or I post it on Facebook later on, and you can get to see how handsome Tim is. But the information that I shared during the break was on Dr. James Forsyth, who is in Reno, Nevada. I had him on the show. This was strictly a grace moment, a moment of divine intervention, that he shared that he has a clinical trial, stage 4 cancers only. It's the only way he can do this and not be arrested. So he does stage 4 cancers only, and he figures out what's deficient in the body, and he pumps it full of it, just like we would do with a tree that's dying in our house that we want to give nutrients and water and all the things that the body needs. He also does a test to see if you are allergic to chemotherapy, which is crucial. And if they are allergic to chemotherapy, he only does the non-toxic approach. But if you aren't allergic to chemotherapy, he will do 10% of what is normally allowed. And he does it through intravenously. So for people who are diabetic, they know that insulin is something that they receive to help the body. And so he does it through, he puts a little bit of chemotherapy, the 10% in the insulin, and it works for certain cancers. And we've done shows with Dr. James Forsyth. His survival rate at the time, the first time I met him, was 62% cancer, stage 4, sent home to die. So that caught my attention. So what is it that we need? We need water. We need to de-stress our life. We need the proper nutrients. And that's why I have Dr. Joel Furman on my show that talks about G-bombs, greens, beans, mushrooms, onions, berries, seeds. We need to forgive. Remember the article on the F word that I did? You know, we need to forgive. We need to stop shaming ourselves. There's a mind, body, spirit approach. I talk about it a little bit more in the article, and I want to encourage people to read that. But we need to treat our body like we treat a toddler. We wouldn't give a toddler French fries, or some people do. We wouldn't get, we just need to have whole foods in our body, but that's not all. We need to practice healing from the inside out. Were you abused as a child? Are you carrying resentment with you? What is it that is going on? And so it's not just treating the symptom, it's also treating the root cause.
Yeah, and you have to look at over time how cancer has, I guess you'd say, exploded in numbers, in percentages, in amounts, in types. 100 years ago, I bet the percentage of people with cancer was hugely smaller than it is today.
It is.
And you're right. It's because of the types of mass-produced foods that are out there. And some people, they just don't have time. So they have to do the things that are the quickest or that fit into an incredibly busy schedule. And you don't realize the damage you're doing over time.
I want to take a don't have time. But guess what? When you're sick, you have all the time. Don't wait till you get sick to make the time to heal. Try to, or focus on and embrace a different lifestyle. And that's what we talk about with the acronym, choose that different lifestyle. But go ahead, Tim. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's
passionate
all right.
about this.
No, that's all right. And, actually, it's just, I think people don't realize what they're doing to themselves and doing all of these things cumulatively either. And in fact, I just want to mention an article I have that will also be in tomorrow's health section when your article comes out. And I talk about skin cancer. And, melanoma is what took my father from me in 2004. He was a young man, 54 years old. And it's one of those things that after he had died, I started seeing a skin doctor. And I had never, until age 27, that's what age my dad died, I had never thought that, gosh, a mole on my body could kill me. So it's probably somebody who's running through the McDonald's drive-thru isn't thinking, if I do this too many times, this could lead to problems that will kill me. They're just thinking, I got to eat real quick and get home and do this and do that. And I know, you can want to change your life, but sometimes it's really hard to do when you have family and jobs and, you're gone all day. And so, that I think that's, one of the reasons why different types of cancers have expanded is because of our just general lifestyle. But I also think that people may not even realize until it's too late what's happening to them.
Well, I want to add, when it comes to skin cancer, I've had doctors on my show say that we really need to look at what we're spraying on our skin when we're out in the sun. We don't need all those chemicals, and that many of the chemicals in sunscreens are hurting us. We need to become smarter as to some of the skincare products that are out there, and we can't abuse ourselves and be out in the sun all day. Maybe we can wear longer sleeves if we're working outside. But they've made me aware that back in the 50s, people were outside all the time. They didn't have sunscreens that we have today, but yet skin cancer is on the rise. We've got to be smarter and not just trust that whatever we're telling us to buy is going to be good for us. There are skin sunscreens that just have zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, and that's it. And that's all we need. And all these other propellant and sprays, we're just getting lazier and lazier and comfortable, and comfortable can kill us. And so I want us to take our life back, to look at some of the things that we're doing without even thinking. Stop, think, get out of your comfort zone, and make the time now instead of when you are dying or have a diagnosis. And I know that sounds really cruel, Tim, but we just gotta wake up. Wake up.
Well, just to add real quick, though, when I was a kid, we didn't have sunscreens and things like that. So I was outdoors just all the time in the sun. No, and that's why I had so many different types of moles. And I've had probably 25 or 30 removed. But we can talk about that a little more.
Yeah. And just look at all the ingredients. The more ingredients you have, it may not be good. And we're going to continue our conversations with Tim Walter when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I use a product now. I'm not going to get any money out of this, but it's called Badger. And they have for children. And we're like saturating ourselves with foods, with products, with things that are really, what is the FDA doing to protect us? What are these organizations that are approving these products? What are they doing? And so I want to encourage you to look at this product or any product that has that it's a more natural, maybe organic, especially for Isabella. So I know you're probably going to look at Badger, but Badger, you can find it at just about anywhere now because these products, people are getting smarter. They're saying, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to eat. Don't tell me. I'm going to learn how to do it so that I can put into my body what I need. I mean, did you know, Tim, that people could be there are people that are allergic to chemotherapy that it'll kill them.
No, I had never actually heard that before.
Yeah, there's a DNA test. Yeah, a DNA test in Dr. James Forsyth. And even though Dr. James Forsyth now is at 72% survival rate, this is stage 4 cancer, sent home to die. He has a 72% survival rate, this 5-year clinical trial. Now, I will say Dr. Charles Majors did pass away this year, but he passed away of something different. He passed away of a really horrible cancer. No one has ever survived this, and it knocks you out right away. But even though the cancer that he had, and he survived from, and he went out and he traveled over and over and over. And I had asked Dr. Lorraine Day, she was on my show, Tim, and I asked her if she knew Dr. Charles Majors, who just recently passed away. And she said, no, why? And she said, because he talks about all the stuff that you talk about, benevolence, having a higher power and, reaching out to a higher power, forgiveness, eating whole foods and sunlight and good hydration, meditation or prayer, all those things. And he was talking about this in a video I saw after he had passed away. And she said, no, I've not heard of him. And I said, well, he went all around the world. He just died. He just ascended, and he went all around the world spreading the word on cancer. And she said, that's why he died. That's why he got cancer. He didn't slow down. He didn't stop. He could have done this from the comfort of his home, but he traveled all around to spread this word that we're talking about today. So we've got to change our lifestyle, which is part of the acronym. I do want to talk about the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation.
Okay.
Because we've gotten so used to the bald heads and doing all the walking and all the pink and the purples and all the different colors, but we've stopped looking at ourselves and that the cure is in us. When you hear that, Tim, that the cure is in us, what do you think of that?
I guess a couple of things come to mind. Maybe I'm a little skeptical because you do see, so many people die and, get different types of cancer. So, it's just,
but they're all doing the same thing. Yeah, they're all doing the same thing. Yeah.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. And today we are talking with Tim Walters, my co-host today. We're talking about my article called Are You Chemotherapy Deficient? Also want to remind you to call 407-373-5959 or at any time during the show to let me know if you want to be a participant, a volunteer with Dr. Mona Lisa Schultz today, who is a medical intuitive. If you have a disease or some form of misdiagnosis or they can't figure out what you have, 407-373-5959. We're going to record the show that we were supposed to air live tomorrow. So if you want to be a part of that, please call now. First caller will be a nice volunteer. Tim, I am so grateful to you about this. I want to also mention, we were talking about during the break, that we've gotten so used to the bald heads, the people dying. It's okay for people to die, but we don't hear about the survival rates with Dr. James Forsyth and other doctors that are an integrative approach to healing cancer and other diseases. We don't hear about those. And they have success rates that are way above 3%, 62%, 72%. And so when you hear things like that, what do you think about it?
I guess some of it sounds almost too good to be true.
Yep.
It makes you wonder why there aren't more doctors out there practicing in this manner. It makes you wonder why, you hear a lot of people say that there, might be cures out there. There might be ways to do it, but the medical, kind of establishment, the ones who make, the tons of money, don't really want a cure getting out there because of the amount of money that goes into the research, that goes into keeping, people searching for it. And, so if you have a cure, then, that there's a large bundle of money that's going to go away. So, but you also have to be skeptical when you hear things like that. But
without a doubt.
But, some of it obviously does sound like it could make sense. So, there's just a lot of things that go through your mind. But when you hear 62 and 72%, you wonder, gosh, I need to keep them on file just in case I ever get sick.
At least bare minimum, if you think about it, when you have a cancer diagnosis, you've had cancer in your body for a long time. You don't need to run into chemotherapy yesterday. You need to figure out what is your body needing. Give it what it needs. And you might need an integrative oncologist, which is what Dr. James Forsyth is. I don't get anything for advertising him or promoting him. I get nothing other than the satisfaction that he has a clinical trial that's going to help us in the future say, hey, this is what we did with this person sent home to die, living 7 years down the road. And they're living without side effects of the chemotherapy and radiation. I've seen too many people die from the side effects of chemotherapy, radiation. That's why we started the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation. And I want to encourage you hear commercials about it during the breaks, but I want you to go to the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation.org. Please donate. Please help us change the way we look at cancer. Now, of course, we have, my acronym. I didn't know didn't have time to talk about it on your show. Do you think we have time to talk about it now?
Absolutely. That was the next thing I was going to ask you about because, we've got a few minutes left of the show. We have to tell people what your latest acronym is.
So go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Well, obviously it is cancer. Mm-hmm. And you came up with the acronym for cancer to give suggestions on how to help. So let's tell people what the C would be.
C is consider. Consider changing your lifestyle, nutrition. Bring exercise into your life. These are just suggestions to consider healing, forgiveness. Just take away the stress from your life. Meditate. A lot of other things that I talk about on the article, but that would be C for consider.
And A is accept the things you cannot change and change the things you can.
Absolutely.
And that can be a tough one. And I think that's one that when things build up in people, and I think that's part of what causes cancers. And I think that, some people don't always accept the things they can't change. And they dwell on it and they let it, really affect them. So I think A is a very difficult yet powerful, one to change the things you can.
Well, here's the thing. We think that because our father or our parents before that or the generations before had cancer or diabetes or anything, we're destined, our DNA, it's the cards we were dealt. The reality is DNA plays less than 3% role in our disease. And so what we inherit is the way that we eat, the recipes we inherit, the way our family deals with conflict, stress, those are things that we inherit. So let's consider changing some of these things and accept the things we cannot change and heal from the inside out.
The N, nurture your spirit and discover your deficiencies. And people don't really like talking about their deficiencies, do they?
No, I know. But, it could be as simple as magnesium or copper or minerals, or the fact that you're eating a nutrient deficient lifestyle. You're eating food that is dead, that has no nutrients whatsoever. remember, this is my belief. I have nothing to support this, but I believe the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry are in cahoots with one another. And look at that. They kind of like work together hand in hand. If you are constantly eating fast foods and sodas and not giving yourself the water that you need, just like a plant, you'll start drying up and you'll need to do something drastic. So don't wait till that happens.
All right. C, the second C would be connect with your higher power. And, we all, well, not all, most people identify with some form of religion, some sort of higher power. Not everybody practices what is, you're born into, because most people adopt the religion that, their family has. So, connecting with your higher power, I know can be tough for some people. And for the non-believers, that's maybe their higher power.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about how intuition and that voice in our head, that's a higher power as well. We need to connect with that because we are not alone. We are not one. We are one. We're not alone. We are one, and we're all connected. And so the sooner that we embrace that side of us, the quicker that process of healing can occur.
And then the E is what we've talked about this throughout the show today. Educate yourself and learn about other far less toxic healing options. So I think we've gone over that one pretty well today.
Yes, we do. We can move on.
All right. And then the R would be responsibly make informed decisions that benefit and heal your body. And that one seems like it should be so obvious, but it's just not.
I know, because we want to be right about what we were taught as a child. But sometimes if we just look at, and I always say this in the show, go through life with childlike wonder. A child doesn't know right from wrong at that moment. They're just open to just about everything. But be responsible. Don't just stick your finger in the light socket 10 times. Know that after the first time you stick it in there, it's going to shock you. And if you stick it again, then if you get shocked and you're shocked that you got shocked, then there's something wrong. We've got to embrace a lifestyle. That's why I want to encourage people to go to McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation.org. Not only learn about the different therapies that are out there. Don't create it yourself. There are doctors out there that can help you with that. But go there, donate, and heal as well. So that's the cancer acronym that I come up with this time. But I really want to encourage people to really focus on, if they were given the keys to a temple, would you allow terrorists in? And so what are the terrorists in our life that are entering our temple, our body? What do we need to do to make sure that we protect our temple? Does that make sense, Tim?
It does. It does. My dad always used to say that my body is like a temple. So that's something I heard growing up. Unfortunately, his temple, as I mentioned earlier, got affected by cancer. But hey, who knows? Unfortunately, his was caught really late. Because with skin cancer, sometimes it doesn't present like other cancers do. But your body is a temple, and you get out of it what you put into it.
That's right. And, and if you want to learn more, again, you can go to McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation.org, or you can listen to some of those teachers that I've had on the show at whenyounneedafriend.com. Tim, it's always such a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's never enough time. And I'm glad that you are so willing to come on. And I want to acknowledge Florida Day for printing my article, for publishing my article, which could be controversial.
No, I couldn't be happier, Lillian. And next time I will not refer to myself as a rainbow wrapped in bacon, maybe wrapped in lettuce.
Oh, there you go. A lettuce wrap. There you go. And thank you so much, Tim. And to you, my listening friend, cancer is a symptom, and it's telling you that your body needs something. What does your body need? Everybody is different. It's not a cure-all. Everybody gets the same treatment. Think about it. And remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job, Tim. Woo! Woo! Okay. Well, it's interesting. I really want to encourage you to look at the work of Dr. Hammer. I've got so many doctors that I've had on the show, Tim, that have been fabulous. I'm so sorry for the loss of your father, but most importantly, the loss of so many people. And this is one thing I want to add before we go, and maybe you want to add more. But one thing I want to say is we poo-poo and we get very angry at doctors that are trying to do something different. As a matter of fact, they get rated all the time. They get shut down because they're doing something different. They're giving the body what it needs. So the question is, how many more millions of people need to die to that 1 or 5? I mean, when you have somebody who has a 3%, less than 3% chance of survival, and you have someone with a 62% stage 4 cancer, what would you say? I mean, do you think that doesn't make sense to try something first before going the traditional route?
Yeah, I'll add 2 things. Number one
Good.
is, I remember when I was in college, I had a friend who was dating a guy who claimed he knew a doctor who had a cure for cancer. And it was, we're talking mid-90s, 95, 96. And, this doctor supposedly had this list of all of these different, nowadays, what would be called holistic. I don't even think they called it back then. They call it, and he said that he had this, I don't want to call it a concoction, but this like recipe for what you would do to cure yourself of cancer. And in like a certain amount of months, the cancer will go into remission if you just followed his plan. Well, they came out in, the medical community and called him a quack, a witch doctor, all of these things, and so, we used to kind of think that this guy who knew the doctor that was dating our friend, we used to kind of think he was kooky, but now you kind of look back at it and go, maybe these guys were ahead of the curve. They might have seemed a little kooky at the time, but, a lot of those people who have these sometimes great ideas get, almost like blackballed because they have something that's so different from what the establishment wants out there. So, that's one. And the second thing I'll add is, with my dad, he was of that generation that was born right after World War II, the Vietnam generation. Mm-hmm. And those guys didn't go to doctors. You get sick, you get this, you get that, it'll go away. It's no problem. And that was his biggest problem is, he didn't see doctors when he had problems. And then when he was so sick, they finally took him in and they said, not only do you have skin cancer, it spread to your lungs and your brain. It was too late. Wow. So, he was too hard-headed. And I think people, born in the late 40s and the 50s kind of had that different mindset. Whereas, people of my generation who were born in the 70s, 80s, where there was really that medical revolution and a better understanding of health and things you have to do, and going to the doctor is important. And I think that's, I think that plays into it a lot of people who are my age, your age, trying to do these things, whereas our parents, they didn't see it that way. So, it was also kind of a completely different mindset.
Yeah, it really is. But, this information has been around for a long time. They figured out a way to make money off of people's illness. And, cancer is a carcinogen. Chemotherapy is a carcinogen. It's a known carcinogen. And it kills every cell in your body. So why wouldn't we want to build the cells in our body? Or where does the mentality, where does it make sense? But it's approved. That is chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery are the only way. And, and this is the thing. People think that because the insurance is only going to pay for chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. That's what they're going to pay for. But the out-of-pocket expenses are beyond $50,000. A lot of people file bankruptcy when they have a disease like that because in their mind, that's the only thing that insurance will pay for, but there's a lot of out-of-pocket expenses. Take these out-of-pocket expenses and use it with a more integrative approach and heal your body, your mind, your spirit. There's so many things. And going back, Tim, to what you had said about the quacks, if you think about it, and we talked about this briefly after we filmed your show, which is, there is a moment where everybody's excited about a new cure. There is a doctor in Italy that discovered that cancer was a fungus. And then if you put baking soda on it, it kills the fungus. And he could show it and prove it over and over and over again. I can't remember his name right now. It's like anyway, I'm not even going to remember what it is, but everybody hailed him as just a genius, and he was showing, and then all of a sudden the smear campaign starts. Oh, he made it up, and they're laughing at him, and they're making, they're calling him a quack, and it could ruin their career. And so many of these doctors that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in their education and build a reputation, now within a click of the internet, they're quacks, they're talking, and the media just follows. The media just repeats what they hear. They don't research it. And so as I've looked at some of these clinical trials, Tim, I just can't ignore it anymore. And you had said to me something, and it stayed with me a whole year. I will just say this. You had asked me a question at the end of last year's show. You said, what about children that have cancer? Well, I hate to say this to you. Again, less than 3% has to do with the DNA, and it could be in the DNA. I don't know. But if a mother is eating a lot of sugar, drinking a lot of sodas, eating a lot of Happy Meals, guess what's happening to that baby? So it's horrible. It's horrible what we're doing to our bodies, but what we're doing to the next generation. And it's really hard to say, because of how I ate or because of the environment. I mean, children are being born with over 280 toxins attached from the mother to the umbilical cord. Research this. Don't believe me. Research it. So when a child gets cancer, it's a horrible thing. What does the child need? What does it need? Does it need chemotherapy? It's horrible what we're doing, and we allow it to happen. I get so emotional when I think about it, especially our children, Tim. So that's why I want to change the way we look at the treatment of cancer. I want people to embrace a more holistic approach. And if it doesn't work, try the traditional way. But at least build your body. Give it what it needs. That's what I have to say.
All right. No, I think it's well spoken. And, I'm glad we can give you a place for your voice in Florida today, because it's not a traditional way of discussing health. I think you've caught a lot of people's attention, and you're doing a great job with it. And you've expanded, to a huge chunk of the East Coast of Florida. So that means that your message is spreading. So good job.
Well, I'm hoping that with the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation, what we're going to do is we're going to pay for treatment, holistic treatment, integrative treatment. And Dr. James Forsyth, for people who can't afford this kind of treatment right now, in his trial, you can get all the treatment you need. Just fly over to Reno and get whatever you need, get whatever the body needs. And his clinical trial has a scholarship. So if people need money, if they can't afford it, if that's the mentality, they can do that too. So anyway, so that's, Tim, I'm really grateful. And I'm grateful to Florida Today, because I know you guys have lots of sponsors. You could have censored me, but you didn't. And thank you for that.
Sure.
It speaks volumes about Florida USA Today.
All right. Thank you, Lillian. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
Look forward to the next article.
I know. Is there any themes going on next month?
No, but we are getting near the holidays, so you may want to do something holiday related.
Here we go. Hang on to the seatbelt, because it's going to be a quick ride to 2018. Thank you, Tim, for always being a wonderful lettuce wrap. What was it that you called?
Rainbow wrapped in lettuce. Now.
Love it. Now that I can embrace. Thank you, Tim, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.